Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another live stream from my apartment. And as you can see, I am wearing a bra today. Thank you, everybody who attended my birthday party. I was in my sleep clothes because I thought, what the heck, it's quarantine, it's my birthday party. No one will notice I'm not wearing a bra because I want to be comfortable for my brunch. Of course, all 3,000 of you noticed I wasn't wearing a bra. Oh well, c'est la vie. It's quarantine. People are forgiving. So how is everybody holding up? Hi, Eliza. Aloha to you as well. Eliza Bassett. Cheryl Chapman. Hi to you as well. House of Letterman is here. Becca, and thank you, Becca, for the donation. For whatever reason, I didn't see it when you made that donation, so I appreciate that. Thank you. Peace to all. I love that. Peace to all. Hi to you. Grand Mare D, hello. SS is here. Mary Rice. Hello, hello. Rebecca Hill. Pamela Doss. Hello. Noel. Moderator extraordinaire. Burn the bras. You know, it's interesting. You read these feminist commentaries about why we are pressured to have perky breast, right? That, you know, you have a society that has its standards about what women's breasts should look like. They have to be young. They have to be perky. We have to wear high heels so that we can show our tuchuses. You know, but the truth of the matter is high heels are bad for our health. It's uncomfortable. It's bad for our lower back. It's bad for our feet. It shortens the Achilles tendon, squashes our feet so that you sometimes have to have surgery if you're wearing narrow shoes. Implants with silicone and other implants. People are undergoing the knife and shoving Jello into their breast because they think that somebody is going to be sexually stimulated by that. So there is a feminist response to that. Should women undergo the knife? Should we put ourselves in extremely uncomfortable push-up bras after the age of 40 when your breasts start to succumb to gravity? If I were 21 and still a size 6, I don't think quite as many people would have been complaining about me not wearing a bra. So it is an interesting feminist argument about, you know, the natural shape of a woman and how we have to hide our natural shape because a certain population says, no, that doesn't bring me maximum pleasure. I want you to squeeze yourself, starve yourself, and put yourself in physical harm because that pleases me. I got an issue with that. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hi, Corey. Hello. Solitary empath. You are not solitary. You got us. Hi, Debbie Ann. It's my birthday and I'll go braless if I want to. XL118. They're just so I have not ever found a comfortable bra. Sports bras I can tolerate if they're made of cotton. I don't like synthetic cloth. Like this is synthetic, but I have to have a cotton under it. I'm very sensitive to, I like cotton. My neck gets cold. I have a very long neck and my neck is always cold. So I'm always wrapping it. Somebody said, I think people thought that I had like some injury or something. No, my neck gets cold and I like something warm and cottony and comforting around my neck. Thank you, Debbie Ann. Thank you for the donation to the channel. That's very sweet of you. So I want to do some throws about when people are going back to work because I get emails constantly. I get private letters from people that are very upset and they just want me to focus on the economics. And I think that that's legitimate. I think that's a legitimate thing for us to focus on today. So the president wants everybody back to work by Easter. Now, here's something really interesting. You know, as an anthropologist, and I think Lena Rodriguez can join in on this because she's a sociologist. So we have kind of like twin studies. Just thinking about you, and there you are. Thanks. Hi, time for change. It is a time for change. I was serious. It was test now. Could it have been the virus? Yes, I believe that I had COVID-19 late. I looked at my records, and I believe I was infected by a patient who presented saying that they had the flu. They had traveled from San Francisco, right? Which I think the flu was here 6 weeks before the alerts happened in California. That's what I think, because I took his temperature. He had no temperature. He was a producer. He was on location. He had flown to Mexico, right? So it's the flying that I believe, and going through security and touch. I think the stewardesses and the flight people are acting as vectors more than anything else. It's like, right, and you're passing trays, and then one person has it, and then you go down the list handing out food. So he flew back from Mexico. He was sick in Mexico. The doctors in Mexico treated him, and he felt better. Then he flew back, and then he had an appointment with me for an acupressure treatment, follow-up, etc. And I wore gloves, and I asked him if there was a possibility he had been exposed to COVID-19. He said, no, I think it was just the flu. So I did use precautions. I did document the case, and I treated the patient. About 5 days later, I started to show symptoms of weak legs, muscles. My chest started to hurt after that. I had trouble breathing in my chest, and it got further and further deeper till it started to feel inflamed like a walking pneumonia. So I self-isolated. A lot of you were asking about my cough. Are you okay, Wibbs? Are you a member about a month ago? And I slept for about 3 weeks. My legs were so weak, I had trouble pulling myself up. And I thought, wow, I'm really getting out of shape. There were a couple of nights there where I had a high fever at night that woke me up with panic attacks and sweats. And then pains in the chest. I thought, geez, I got to go to a doctor. I've never had this before. I tried calling the urgent care that I usually go to here in Los Angeles, and it just went straight to voicemail. I tried calling straight to voicemail. I would call one of their secretaries, and they would say, please hold. And then I would be dropped. I physically couldn't get a person at any of the clinics. So I thought, wow, whatever this is, it must be just hitting the West Hollywood area pretty seriously. So I then accidentally cured myself. I was making, I believe I accidentally cured myself. I was making teas for people. And I thought, well, COVID's probably going to reach the United States fairly soon. I'll start doing immunosupportive teas for everybody. I'll start experimenting. So I researched what the strongest antivirals were, and I ground them up into a dust. And I wasn't wearing a mask, but I was wearing gloves, but no mask. And all this dust from elderberry and all these other antivirals went into my lungs. And I started reishi and the chaga and the astragalus, and I started coughing up all the dust. And I thought, well, that wasn't good. And then I made mother tea for myself, in case it was viral, and within 2-3 days, I was back to normal. So I think I had it, and I accidentally cured myself. I'm kind of glad I got it before I knew I had it, because if I had known that I had it, the anxiety about having it would have been worse than the actual disease itself. And it leaves a lingering, mucus in your throat, like you cough for afterwards. So I think I had it. So then after I confirmed that I probably did have it from that patient, that was my patient exposure, I then had to go through everybody who had been exposed and then call them and let them know, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that was in that exposure happened between between the second and third week of February here in LA County. So people fly a lot in LA. A lot of producers, actors, they fly on location. We have actors flying constantly, so it doesn't surprise me. Also, we have Chinatown here. We have Koreatown. Family members are in South Korea. I get into Ubers with people who have just come in from Seoul. They've just come in from China, etc., Hong Kong, etc. It's just a very mobile community here in LA. So yeah, I was probably close to the epicenter when it just got started. Somebody flies in from South Korea. They're driving Uber. You shake their hand or whatever. It becomes a vector. And then I unknowingly give it to the grocery person, and it goes generational. So I was probably really early on. I can't even, I mean, good luck trying to report the fact that you think you had COVID-19. Yeah, I've been trying to get a hold of people and other people's attitude. You also talk to people and they say, well, why are you telling us you're fine now? So that we can document that So there seems to be, they're not even bothering to document. If you've already had it and cleared it, but you are responsible, you have to go back. If a patient was exposed, like I had to call a patient and the patient had symptoms, he said, yeah, I was having some chest pain. He says, my patients tend to be actors and people like that really take good care of themselves. And this individual was a vegan, had some minor symptoms. And I said, well, you probably had it. So now he has to go and find out if he exposed anybody. Ooh, Lyft. Oh, how nice. Well, I do both, Uber and Lyft. So I think we're going to go ahead. We'll do a simple prayer. People have asked me to look at the financial stuff, and I think we should do that because people are upset. All right, I want to call on white light protection for myself and my viewers as we ask permission from Spirit to access the Akashic records. We call on our spirit guides and good angels to be with us. Give us the clarity and the wisdom that is needed to empower all of us on our journey so that we can make the best decisions for ourselves, our families, for the planet, and even to help those we have strife with. And together we say, Amen. Amen, everyone. How are we going to do financially? Well, Fauci says multiply the numbers of confirmed cases by between 15 and 20, and that we are 3 weeks behind the virus. Because West Hollywood clinics were practically shut down with flu cases, etc., I think that as far as LA is concerned, they're probably more like a month to 6 weeks behind the virus. So if you have 500 confirmed cases, multiply that by 20, 15 to 20 for the actual cases. So we've probably got about 500,000 active cases right now in the United States, thereabout, because so many people are having minor or asymptomatic symptoms and they're not reporting. Thank you for the bracha, Care Levine. You say, for Shalemach. Oh, before I do this, actually, I have a remote view thing that I wanted to share. I'm all over the place. So it was interesting. I was doing a remote view. I was doing a meditation last night. And I was thinking about Cash Peters and how Cash Peters had said that there was a third wave that was going to take out this president. And probably it was the COVID-19, the fact that the stock market crashed, etc. The fact that he was calling it a hoax for 6 weeks, even though we had warnings, which, you know, he was suppressing the medical information, the CDC. Lives are going to be lost because of that, unfortunately. But Now we are in Lent, right? These are the energetically what's going on with the planet. It's Lent. It's the time before Passover when, if you're Jewish, we're cleaning out our homes. We're doing spring cleaning. We're getting rid of the chametz, the leavened bread. I'm not going to do this. Sorry, I'm not observant. But the idea, the mystical idea of it, is to clear out things from the past that hold you back or keep you in chained. To be mindful. Oh, hello, Debbie. Good to see you. So, if you go back to the story, and each culture has a different way of looking at this, which is why I was also thinking about Lina Rodriguez and her studies of culture and society and how societies deal with certain things like emergencies, etc. But I kept hearing, and Pharaoh's heart was hardened. That is what they keep saying in the Torah story of Exodus. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened. So I think there's kind of like a spiritual lesson there about what happens when we don't listen. When we think that the other, the best matzah Care leaven is actually Chabad Lubavitch, because they have the Shmura matzah, which is made from whole wheat. You put that in your toaster with a little cream cheese, you're good, and tomatoes, you're good to go. But anyway, so you have the story of Moses telling Pharaoh, listen, the signs are such that God, the universe, Mother Nature, whatever your religious practice is giving you a heads up that enslaving people and oppressing people's rights is bad news, and you need to stop doing that. And if you don't stop oppressing your employees, some bad stuff is going to happen. There's going to be a locust. There's going to be plagues. And Pharaoh's heart was hardened. Nah, they're doing fine. The peasants are doing fine. The slaves are doing fine. And so things get worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And Pharaoh's heart is hardened. And then eventually it winds up on the doorstep of the Pharaoh. His own child becomes ill from the plague. And at that point, because it's right in the face of the Pharaoh, you want to join the story? It's right in the Pharaoh's house. At that point, he can no longer be in denial that that the plague is there and that people are dying. The angel of death, right? This is how the story goes. And so he thinks, okay, just let them go. Just go into quarantine, take some time off, right? Go into exile, right? Which is where we find ourselves right now. We have all been put into exile. Mother Nature has put us all in a timeout where we all have to think about our actions, how we treat ourselves, how we treat one another, etc. But because it didn't help the economic bottom line, the Pharaoh became angry at Moses, and then he sends his legions to go after the slaves and to bring them back to work, right? And so the Pharaoh follows she's got that look on her face where she really wants to just be mischievous. She's got that Cato look. Look at the tail. She's thinking of an attack strategy. Yes. So the Pharaoh goes and chases after the slaves, aka employees, oppressed employees, to try and force them back to work. And as he does so, a wave comes, and the wave drowns the Pharaoh, and the wave drowns the Pharaoh's henchmen, and they all are taken out in the final wave. So why do I tell this story? Because, if you're looking at different theories, anthropological theories about human wiring, we will often resurrect the same allegories, the same imagery, the same stories will be passed on from culture to culture. Um, and we're seeing these same allegories, waves, Cash Peters seeing a wave. These are very, the water's rising, right? And in fact, we're in springtime. The waters are rising in the Midwest and southern United States. Louisiana is vulnerable. Florida is vulnerable. Texas and the Gulf states, because now the rains are coming. So again, we find ourselves this time of the year, during the time of Passover. Easter is when the rains come, and Jewish people, we will go from praying for dew, right? Uh, we pray for rain, and then after Passover, we start to pray for dew again. So it is the rainy season. We're in the height of the rainy season right now. So I think that this is why, as human beings, we keep going to these same imagery. But so the third wave, yeah, very similar to the story of the Pharaoh who refused to listen. His heart was hardened, and then he was taken out by a giant wave. Might be fun to watch the Ten Commandments, C.C. DeMille's. He has a very interesting way of telling that story. But I think for me, the spiritual lesson is how dangerous it is for us to not really listen to one another. And when we refuse to listen because we have preconceived ideas, or we think the other person is the enemy or inferior, or we don't consider them quite human because of our own ignorance, we not only we put ourselves and everybody else's lives at risk. And I think the spiritual lesson also is cooperation. And even if you think that, well, those people have nothing to teach me, consider the possibility that they do. That, yeah, Trump is on the third wave. So it goes back to that imagery of the Pharaoh and the wave coming. Let my people go. Yes. that the establishment, that when a plague comes, the established authority cannot maintain itself, because it doesn't discriminate. And that's what happened in Italy during the plague, was that the aristocrats were hit pretty hard, as they were this time in Italy. And it led to huge socioeconomic changes in Italy. All right, let's look at the economy. Grief and fighting happening right now with the economy. You can see our base cards, or what I call cards 11 and 12. Grief, losses, and arguing. But the Five of Wands is also people of different opinions coming together to find a solution or to build something. Actors building a stage for a performance is one way that this has been interpreted. Oh, let's build a barn. Let's put on a play. They're not actually hitting each other. They're constructing something. And they may all have different ideas, but you can see the grief card there. So I like the fact that the Five of Wands is coming in, because it could indicate a time of a team of rivals coming together to find a solution to an existing problem. For us now, the existing problem is economic. Good. Ace of Wands is moving in. So that would bode well for the economy, in the sense that there is going to be there's probably an agreement from the Senate fairly soon, and it looks like also the Queen of Cups is there, which denotes love or cooperation, and an Ace of Wands, which is entrepreneurship. Hope everybody can see these. What is above? The Torah. This is also law, documentation, the truth. Torah is to open the eyes or to see, and then the Hermit card. So I think they're right on top of constructing something. What I like about these cards is they suggest that everybody is open. There's an openness. There's a loving cooperation. There's a business card here associated with success in business. And there's also a scholarship card here. So what I like is also it appears that there's respect here. It's not an abusive environment. If you look at these cards, this is a card of opening the eyes, coming to solutions, using your intellect, showing compassion, the Queen of Hearts. Yeah, they're on the verge of coming. They have found us. The solutions are being found. You can see here the 5th and 6th house. High Priestess, opening up, finding a solution. This is like the knowledge comes to you, and then the Fool takes a leap of faith, coming out of rigorous thinking, perhaps. And then where we're at, our environment. Yeah, this is about law. Look at this. This is about actual legal law, changing laws, existing laws. Smoother. Everybody's on the same page, which is survival and cooperation, hopes and fears, the package, and then the final outcome, still having this problem. There is still this energy of the hardened heart. The burden of closing yourself off, which places you in a prejudice, puts you in an economically vulnerable situation because you're not respecting and helping your workforce. If you don't respect and help your workforce, you're going to collapse, which is what happened in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia was denying equal rights and work to 50% of their workforce, and that was why they weren't able to internationally compete, was because women were not on the job force. And it's something that countries like Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, they've had to take a really hard look at their policies for female employment and how it's having a negative impact on the socioeconomic climate as a whole, if half the people are not contributing economically. So we still have some hardening by the president, some defensiveness, perhaps. He's being carried along. The president is being carried along by something, but he still presents as look. He goes along with it. But there's still this feeling like it wasn't my fault. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm not responsible for this. It's as if this is happening and these deals are happening and the president has nothing to do with it. He's being informed after the fact. That's the best way to interpret it. So I think we're going to get a deal. I think there's going to be a break within about 2 to 3 weeks. And I think that we're going to probably start seeing people slowly returning to the job sector, but they're going to have new Joan Fabrics. A lot of people are going to Joan Fabrics so that they can make their own mask, and also they're making masks for the hospitals. A friend of mine is a tailor, and I asked him if he was going to start making masks, because the tailors have been asked. He's doing masks, and then he's researching essential oils, and then he's infusing them with essential oils, and I think he's giving them to his family. All right, let's go ahead and look at Fauci, if Fauci's okay. Because he was exhausted and he needed a couple days off. Evidently, he was only getting 3 hours of sleep a night. Dr. Fauci, is he okay? He said he's semi-quarantined and he's working more from home. So he has started to semi-quarantine himself. Let me find out about that, why that's happened. He's trying to limit his how many public exposures he has. Oh, thank you, Eliza, because he's 80 years old and he's getting 3 hours of sleep a night. So he's putting his own life at risk. So he's had to pull back. I'm in his field, and what I'm feeling as I go into his field is that he's saying that he has to pull back and he has to be semi-quarantined himself. So he's working from his home, he's calling from his home, he's doing interviews from his home, but we could be seeing him quarantined. Oregano oil, yes. If you'd like to see actual clinical studies on the efficacy of essential oils, the science behind it, and why we are looking at essential oils for their antiviral properties, I have linked those studies in the comments section of the channel. And they're looking at frankincense, they're looking at eucalyptus, they're looking at oregano oil. They were looking at lemon and orange, some of the citruses. Just take a look at the studies and don't just go with internet rumors. Look at the actual clinical studies. So the clinical study that I found interesting was that they were looking at airborne particles. So they were putting it in an isolated diffuser, and they were looking at the particles of the essential oils and how they were denaturing the proteins of viruses. And then they were trying to determine what concentration and what essential oils were best at denaturing viruses. So healthcare workers that are looking at the studies, naturopathic doctors, etc., are steaming. When they sterilize their mask, they're sterilizing them with a little bit of menthol or a little bit of essential oil based on theory. It hasn't been proven that if you put it on a mask, but it's compelling enough evidence that as long as you don't have a sensitivity to those essential oils, I was not aware of black cumin, the study involving black cumin seed. Black cumin seed is used a lot for gout. I know that. Bergamot, I don't know about bergamot. It's possible, but the studies I looked at, I don't know if they said bergamot. All right, Fauci. Just take a look at the articles, read them, look at the conclusions, and it also makes you wonder if you had a diffuser in your home, would that reduce risk? And I don't think it would be strong enough. But maybe cleaning surfaces. You could put it in your alcohol solution, your hand sanitizer, and it might be able to be helpful if you're doing like alcohol and essential oil and aloe. Fauci says we just have to get over this hump. When I sit again in his energy, he's saying there's a huge hump coming and we have to get over this hump. That's what he's talking about, trying to get to smoother waters, the strife that's coming, where he's at right now. He's pulling back his energy of Pentacles. It's partly because of his own health and safety. Right over him, it's like the virus is like a Knight of Swords, aggressive energy. It's ruthless. It doesn't care who you are. It wants your DNA so that it can replicate, survive, and spread. So it doesn't really care who you are. It just wants your DNA. It just wants to replicate. It wants to live. It wants to survive. And it changes us. Anytime we get a virus, there are hundreds and thousands of viruses, and most of them we haven't even learned about. They want to borrow us, right? So that they can replicate, survive. Archangel Michael coming in the fourth house. Boy, is this guy working. He's still working his tilchis off. He's just doing it from home. Fighting, right? Fighting the good fight, Archangel Michael. He's communicating a lot with international, not for disease control, but also the international community. Look, he's got a lover's card in his sixth house, which would denote that he's working with other people, trying to get help, and also working with the government. There's a Hierophant in the seventh house, the karmic wheel. This is all about time. He feels like It's trying to close the door of exposures. It's about a time issue. It's about exposures. It's about being under attack. It's about protecting himself. I don't get that he's frightened of the president, that the president is after him, nothing like that. It's really more that he's in charge of his fate. He's in charge of taking care of this. He's in charge of the fact that he's trying to pull us out of this. But it's you know, this is a huge, we've got so many holes in our healthcare system that have to be clogged up that I think that it could lead to complete physical exhaustion for this individual. Also, for whatever reason, communicating the time, communicating how we're vulnerable and how this is going to spread and how we're running out of time, the moon card. Well, for whatever reason, the other is not, it seems to be confused. Some people seem to be unteachable. I know that Linda G got the mother as the outcome, so she interpreted that as Mother's Day. I also got the mother card as the outcome. I think this is going to clear, but I think it's going to get bad before it gets better, unfortunately. I'm worried about Fauci's energy with that 10 of Swords. He's really working himself, overworking himself, and it's not good for his health. Yeah, it's very dangerous. That arrogance, that vanity, that closed heart, refusing to listen to people who may be different than yourself. It's very dangerous. Okay. Yeah, send white light to Dr. Fauci, and he's trying to do what he can to protect himself while still working, but boy, talk about a workaholic. And unfortunately, it looks like Amy Klobuchar's husband is in serious condition. He's coughing up blood. That's not good. He's on oxygen, but he has not been placed on a respirator. So, you know, it's very serious. Yeah. Everybody needs to start sewing masks. All right, let's look at Trump next. Even though we all know. Yes, Amy Klobuchar, she really is, she's asking for prayers right now for everyone and her husband. Do dryer sheets. Yes, putting your clothes in a dryer where with heat theoretically can help. We don't know how heat stable the virus is because it seems to be thriving even in hot temperatures, but heat and a tissue that has some essential oil theoretically may be helpful, but again, this is all theory. Yeah, imagine your husband is in a hospital on oxygen, and there's nothing they can do for him, and he's coughing up blood. That's pretty serious. The microwave, yeah. I mean, they're using it in sterilization process. They're starting to use the essential oils. You have the regular gloves. I mean, what is it? You've got the regulars. We give you the regulars, and then we give you the stuff that smells like a pizza. We don't know if it's helping, but it's causing our doctors to start craving more pizza orders. A lot of people are using the oregano oil in Seattle. A lot of naturopathic doctors are volunteering, and they're bringing all of their crazy All of our wild, crazy medicine, and the doctors are actually open-minded because they're like, okay, in vitro studies is good enough for me. Hand me the oregano oil. You know, it might do nothing, but so you go to certain clinics in Seattle, and everybody starts smelling like oregano and garlic. And are we ordering another pizza? We start craving pizza. I prefer eucalyptus, which also has studies. That's an example of being open-minded, right? So if you're a traditional medical doctor and you want to see the science, which so do I, by the way, and you've got this wacky naturopathic doctor saying, try essential oils. Say, do you have any studies at all? Well, actually, yes. What the hell? It's not, I like oregano. Put it on my mask. Why not? He's freaking out. This is Trump freaking out about the money, freaking out. Look at this. He's watching his businesses. He's watching the business go up in smoke. Look at that. 9 of Swords with the business card. There's nothing he can do to stop this. The colloidal silver is only 10 parts per million, and the studies have not been convincing. The FDA dropped it to only 10 parts per million for the commercial colloidal silver. The economy. He will be judged by the economy. The health issues. He's got to travel. He said he's got to move. He's got to travel. I think back to Florida. Look at this. He's talking about, I got to get out of here. He's got to get out of the White House. He's got to get out of DC. He's got to get somewhere. So I think he's planning on going somewhere. He feels disconnected from his base. He's convinced that they're going to find a solution, that they have to find a solution because his entire presidency is on the line. 6 of Wands, victory, praying for a solution, has to travel somewhere regarding this, feels tied up. He feels like the scientists and the experts should be able to fix this problem because it's reflecting badly on his presidency. So he wants them to fix this as soon as possible, because it's harming the bottom line. He's relying on them and he hates it. He's relying on them and he doesn't understand why they can't fix this. They seem to be confused and he feels like they're confused. He doesn't want to hear anything except a solution. Looking for solutions in the clouds. This is somebody who may have escaped into a fantasy this is the fantasy, the ghost, the jewels, the crown, the castle, the handsome suitor. This is someone who may be completely breaking with reality in order to cope. He has to allow the other to take charge because he has to reach across. The only way that they're going to be able to realistically deal with this problem is that he has to stop with his hardened heart. He has to stop with that and allow the experts, many of whom are Democrats, liberals, progressives, to take charge of the situation. That's the best way for me to interpret it. Just because the Lover's card is moving in, he's completely out to lunch. Look at that. 7 of Cups. Hopes and fears. It's all about the money, the economy, his financial legacy, going to the experts. Just fix it already. Just fix it already, because my presidency and the economy is being tested. So you guys need to go fix it. Well, if you want us to fix it, we're going to have to give more power to the Democrats and to the academics and intellectuals on both sides, whether you like it or not. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that because my base doesn't like them, because I've been demonizing them for 4 years. Well, you're going to have to stop demonizing them and let them come in and take charge, because if you don't, we're going to see this problem protracted. So whether he likes it or not, he's entering into the Lover's phase, which means we're going to have to we're going to have to put the whole party politics aside. Within the next 2 weeks, no one's going to give a crap about which party you belong in. Can you help the tribe? Remember, we went back to, for my birthday, we did a reading on the tribal wisdom and how the tribal wisdom is something that Prince Harry thinks a lot about, which is that if from a tribal perspective, if you're up against a gun and you don't know if the tribe is going to survive because it's a drought or a virus or something else, everyone has to contribute. And if you have wisdom to share with the group, you have to speak your truth. You have to share because the life and survival of the tribe depends on it. And so you never hoard your wisdom. You never hoard your knowledge. You share it selflessly with the tribe so that everybody can benefit from your wisdom. If you know that there's a good watering hole somewhere, you don't keep it to yourself and let the rest of the tribe go without clean water. You're morally obligated to say, I have knowledge of where there's clean water. So that was something that came in the remote viewing I had with Prince Harry, where this fundamental truth is something that was shared to him when he was experiencing traditional tribes throughout the world, working with traditional tribes. And it's something that has stayed with him, that he will share his knowledge because he's obligated to do so. And this is the only way that the world can survive. By the way, I have a feeling he's going back to school and he'll probably get a degree in either developmental psychology, helping with grief counseling, post-traumatic complex PTSD, helping in early childhood development, and probably teaching. So I think he's probably going to go back to school. But the point here is that it's this primal survival instinct where we put our differences aside and we think in terms of the greater picture, which is to help one another and to share our knowledge and to put our party differences aside. And that transition will probably be happening in the next week or two. Let's look at Europe. Just want to look at France, Italy. I'll try and do a scan, and then I want to. The EU has decided to help Iran. Just want to check on the EU. It's interesting when you go into Merkel's energy because she's coming in. When I go into this meditation, Andrea Merkel is saying that that she believes economically the best thing that Germany can do is to pull back their resources, be frugal, just like in a war, hold steady with all their resources, hold everything, and try, and they're testing minor case. The numbers are really high, but the mortality rate is really low in Germany, and that's because they're testing even people who have minimal symptoms. And so they're catching a lot more cases early on. We'll probably see the mortality rate, unfortunately, go up in the coming weeks because it becomes more severe, they say, after about 2-3 weeks from initial infection. But Merkel's way of handling this is to basically put the economy and everything into a kind of hibernation, just slow everything down, hunker down, be frugal like they did in war, and then start the chains of production up as soon as it's safe to do so. She feels that from an economic perspective, this is the best thing for Germany to do, is to just put themselves in almost like a coma. She just wants to kind of put the brakes on the entire economy. And she feels like ultimately that's going to be the best decision for Germany economically. Quercetin is an anti-inflammatory, it's an antioxidant, basically. It's considered an antioxidant. It's found in onions, it's found in all kinds of things, but I'm not aware of any. I could Google and try and look at studies on quercetin and whether or not it's been used as an antiviral. She's got the King of Wands as her base, taking care of her tribe, taking responsibility, getting her house in order, being the leader. She's got the staff of authority. She's determined to put an end to it. The buck stops here. Look, I think she studied virology. I think she's a scientist. So she's looking at it like a scientist. This is a virus. Shut down the means of transmission. Be frugal, hold up your stores, put the economy in a timeout, and just wait it out. She's sharing her wisdom with others. 6 of Cups. She's generous. I think Germany will get through this. 10 of Wands. They're working hard together, cooperating. Yeah, it's a timeout. It's a time of timeout. The economy shouldn't, it's not about, she doesn't want the economy to crash, she just wants to time out. Yeah, she's also reaching across to other countries and trying to help. This is an academic, she's a scientist, she's in a hermit mode, doing the work. I don't get scared when I go into Angela Merkel's energy. This is someone who very much understands how this disease is spreading and what they have to do to preserve and lock down their economy and to minimize losses. It's probably why they're doing better than everybody else in some respects. Yeah, it's all about, she's trying to help people too. Look at this, Ace of Cups in the 7th house, where she's at, 6 of Cups, old alliances, working. She's really doing her eyes are wide open and she's trying to help. Look at this, she pulled double aces. She's a good friend to have in a storm. She is the King of Wands. Hopes and fears that other people will not cooperate. The biggest threat to survival right now, as far as Angela Merkel is concerned, is that people not cooperate. It's that energy where people refuse to listen, or it's a Democrat hoax, the coronavirus hoax. That is precisely what's going to keep you from being helped by Angela Merkel. You know, this is somebody who knows what she's doing, and anybody who's willing to listen, she's willing to help. She pulled the 7 of Cups too. I don't like that. Why is that the outcome? What's that in relationship to? It's probably the United States, dealing with helping people who may not be completely in touch with reality. Look at that, 2 of Cups, offering delusional. You cannot help people who don't want to be helped. You can't help people that are in denial about science, that believe the earth is 6,000 years old, that think it'll just go away on its own. You have to focus on those countries and those allies. I'm talking about Angela Merkel. And Angela Merkel was the first energy I saw when I went into the EU. And she's a scientist. And she understands how viruses spread. And she understands how to minimize the mortality rate. And the biggest problem she has, she's willing to help people and show what Germany, and present to people what Germany is doing. But, 6 of Cups, she's 2 of Cups outcome. She's trying to help people. Her base identity, her archetype is the King of Wands. So, but her biggest obstacle is 7 of Cups. She reaches out, or the final outcome, to people who are either, well, I don't want to, it's like the president didn't want to shake Angela Merkel's hand because she's a globalist. This is why she's a globalist. Because viruses don't care what passport you hold. Okay, Noelle. That's fine. You're being a good mommy. She has a PhD in chemistry. I have a minor in chemistry, and we did look at, when you get into the biochemistry, that's when you do the Ebola studies, and the virology is part of our biochemistry studies. But now the Respiradavir, is that how you pronounce it? Respiradavir which is an antiviral that was developed to treat Ebola, is the one that they're looking into for treating this. Yeah, makes sense that she would be a chemist. Biochemistry is wild because you see chemistry in biological systems, like how viruses bind to receptor sites, how the body produces chemicals like immunoglobulins, cytokines. All right. No, not resveratrol. Resveratrol is an antioxidant that's plants produce in order to protect themselves from the sun. Respiratory is an antiviral that was developed to treat Ebola. I was very surprised the numbers weren't higher in. I had been thinking that a couple of weeks ago about. I don't know where my tissue went to. My tissue always. Oh, there it is. Just because that's where the the Disney World is there, the seniors are there. It's the heart of the tourism industry for people who are taking cruises. $52,000 confirmed cases. Fauci says we are 3 weeks behind the curve, so you want to multiply that by 15 to 20, according to Fauci. And that's because a lot of people are silent carriers or minor carriers, and they don't get tested, and so we don't have any documentation. So we have to assume that is only that 52,000 is we're catching one of 15 cases. The low birth rate is because she's catching minor cases, which is exactly what she should be doing, and minor symptoms in asymptomatic people, and so she's got a wider net. However, we don't know if those minor cases, are going to turn severe in the next 3 weeks. So we could see an increase in mortality in the coming weeks in Germany. But by catching the earlier cases, she's going to be able to slow down the curve because those people are going to go into quarantine. And that's exactly what they should have done. I got to look at England. I have Great Britain because I worry about Britain. How's Britain doing? How are you doing, Britain? Self-examination, frugality, protecting oneself, going inward, guarding oneself, the Empress card, abundance, sharing. It feels to me almost like World War II, that drawing on. Oh, I think the Queen is going to speak soon. This feels like mobilization. It feels like the country is starting to get more mobilized. Yeah, and there's something about getting help or cooperation from somebody else. And There's a feeling like they're going to go into a wartime stance because it's showing a lot of being frugal, movement. The King of Swords is almost like a military movement. Ten of Cups, family, working. This is almost like cooperation during frugal times. Some type of a war. Oh, certain people they're not able to work with. I don't think this is a good time for communication with the United States because there's some kind of a drop in the ball in terms of communication. Strife is coming. There's something about the border being open and controversies about flying and keeping certain things open. And there are still leaks in terms of exposure risk in England. Something about that I'm seeing, which could theoretically cause it to linger longer than they would want in England. I feel like I've slept so much I can't sleep anymore. I was so tired after med school, I felt like I could just sleep forever. And I felt like I never got caught up on my rest. I feel like now I'm caught up on my rest. It's like, okay, I can't sleep anymore. How is Italy? How many deaths today were recorded in Italy? Was it like 600? It went back up again, right? Yeah, breathing lessons. That's right. So the gentleman that was on the Diamond Princess that began doing his breathing lessons, and this is something that physical therapists have started to do. Yoga instructors, if you want to save some lives, we're running out of ventilators. And so how it's been explained to me is that our diaphragm has to be our ventilator. So, Placido Domingo has COVID-19. We're hoping, he's somebody who hopefully he has strong diaphragmatic breathing. If worse comes to worse, he's going to be diaphragm when you breathe in to pull it down to, just to strengthen the different yogic breathing techniques, doing yoga, anything to strengthen your core so that you'll be able to do that strong exhale where you can push all the dead air out. You push out as much as you can and then try and push out a little bit more. If you feel you do have the virus, if somebody else is with you in quarantine, pushing in the back to push all the dead air out, pulling with the diaphragm down, taking in air, pushing the diaphragm, pushing in the back out all the excess air. That can be helpful. All right, so somebody had asked me to look at Italy, and then after Italy, I will go ahead and do Como. Hi, Marie. Thanks for coming. Oh, I forgot to say, we've donated to our charities with the money people gave me. I bought one basket, 2 gift cards through emergency food aid through Amazon. We donated $250 to Meals on Wheels. Thank you, everyone. And we donated, I believe it was $250 for feedamerica.org. Como is a good guy. And I believe we still have a little bit, I have to look, I think we might have a little bit more money left over. We can do another donation. Okay, Italy. So we are doing our part. You are doing your part. Yes, love to all the angels who helped. All right, Miss. Let's take a look at Italy. There's a lot of business that's not shutting down. There's a lot of secret business in Italy that's not shutting down. It's been really hard to get compliance in Italy. That's the main thing. Certain businesses, certain business people, Sicily, people that work under the table, people that there's something about certain aspects of business where they refuse to shut down, and that could cause the disease to continue. Nice King of Wands, where the nation is at. Movement, experts. It cleaned up a lot of. There's some corruption, missing money, and unregistered businesses that are continuing to do business. There's something about that that's coming up here. And there's a potential other wave that's going to happen. And the military seems to be, there's something about the military getting more active. I'm seeing military imagery like the chariot with the pharaoh, right? Coming. There's another wave here, unfortunately, for Italy. Yeah, has to do with the fact that particularly in southern, I'm seeing problems in southern Italy. It's moved. They've gotten strict in some cities like Rome, etc. They've been strict in the Mid-East areas of Italy, but now the problem is other areas of Italy which did not quarantine, towns, cities, villages in the south, villages in Sicily are starting to get hit, and I'm seeing catastrophic problems in other parts of Italy, like the south, unfortunately. Thank you for the donation, Susan. It's very sweet of you. And thank you to Nisi as well. Nisi J, thank you. And Susan Brochin for their donations. So we'll go ahead and do that. Me, myself, and I. Thank you. That was very sweet. Yeah, they told me they were buffering. The three of us, we all would be. How you doing, Mr. Como? He's working very close with the military. He's working close with the Corps of Engineers. There's a lot of communication between him and the military right now that I'm seeing. Not to oppress the people. That's not what's happening. It's they need certain things to be mobilized. Italy, boy, they don't listen in Italy. There's like whole towns I saw when I went in where they're just doing what they like. He can't think about so when I sit in his shoes, he says, I can't think about the astronomical financial cost right now. We just have to get through this. You can see a poverty card, Page of Swords, rejecting. He says he can't think about that right now. Four of Cups. Oh, me, myself, and I sent us lots of fruits and vegetables. Movement. Yeah, I think now we're going into construction. Like I said, they were going to start taking schools, arenas. He's having to go through hoops to bypass certain blocks or problems. The president is a hindrance more than anything else. There's a feeling by the experts that they need President Trump to just disappear for a while. It's almost as if he's not helping. He's actually preventing things from working. The international community is offering to help New York, and I think that they're going to take it. they're actually possibly going to get more help internationally than they are from this president, because there's a feeling like the president is actually part of the problem. All right. Well, that was exciting. Thank you, everyone, for coming in. Thank you for the support. Thank you to everybody who's donated to the super chats. CPD Action Solidarity, I'll check it out, because I think we've got another $150 left to donate out of the money for the month. So I can take a look at that charity. He is, yeah. I mean, it's interesting that Como tries to communicate with him and he's so out to lunch. It's like Europe is like, he'd rather work with Angela Merkel, what she's doing to stabilize the population. The scientists, they're getting a lot of help from the EU. So he go play golf. Get out of the way. You're not helping. It goes back to the remotes we've done a couple of years ago, where we saw the president leaving and Pence coming in for about 9 months. And that should happen around April, May. We'll fit in with Linda G's timeline of Mother's Day. Thank you, everyone, for the love. And again, I'm so happy everybody could join me for my birthday party on the 22nd. And happy birthday to everybody else who is a March baby. All right, love and light. I'm still here doing readings from my home. If you want to have a reading, I would love to give you a reading. We will get through this together. Thank you, Wandering Eyes. Thanks for helping. All right, be well, everyone. We'll see you next time. Take care.